Right. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Excellency Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli, all protocol observed, as the good Africans would say in such a context. We cannot really recognize everyone at the panel and those who are in the audience and those who are following up this important event. I'll be sharing, building on what Dr. Carney just spoke about, three issues of concern and implementation when it comes to finance. The facts, the proposals, and how Dr. Carney and fellow villagers from Egypt got us busy during the last 5 months in trying to answer two questions. Where are the pipeline of projects? This was one of the items of what I call Dr. Carney's list. And the other question, not coming from a global leader and very well-known economist, but from fellow villagers from the Egyptian Delta, what's in it for us having such a big event in Sharm el-Sheikh? 5 months ago, they shared this question, and we had to provide an adequate answer to them because they have to be respected in their views. So, facts of the matter, that we have a gap in finance. The gap is widening. The recent report that was commissioned by the president of the COP, Minister Shukri, and the president of the former COP26, Minister Sharma, that was launched softly yesterday and is going to be shared today, the report by Nextern and Vera Songwe. We say that total annual investment needs for emerging markets and developing countries around $1 trillion after lots of modification, assuming that the advanced economies can take care of themselves and China can take care of itself as well. So we have $1 trillion remaining until 2025. And then after that, until 2030, we need to mobilize more, around $2.4 trillion. This is the most conservative figure when it comes to gaps on finance. Then someone comes and asks about the $100 billion. This is very important, very critical to support low-income countries and developing economies. But again, this will not really be sufficient to deal with the gap unless it is enhanced, leveraged, assuming that it is flowing decently on an annual basis, which has never been the case. I have a group of people with some sort of trust in the global financial architecture, assuming that such figure is additional. There is no additionality whatsoever. It's a fallacy. Climate finance, development finance, even humanitarian finance are coming all from the same pool. There is no additionality. So it's better to get climate, development, humanitarian finance, folks all in one room to see this additionality question to be realized. When we say that advanced economies are not fulfilling their promise, it's a mistake, because 6 or 7 of them are doing what they should be doing, but we have the rest of the 23 countries not doing their job. Anyways, where is the finances coming from so far? It's coming really from the ministries of finance, the budget of the state, as Minister Mait knows, and the Honorable Minister of Finance from Nigeria. The heavy lifting from for public finance is coming from the budgets of the state. A typical developing economy would rely on the budget by around 80% directly through domestic resource mobilization or by external debt. So as Mr. Carney just mentioned, we need to leverage the private sector and to have adequate mobilization of finance. So far, we are heavily dependent on debt instruments. More than 60% of external finance are in debt forms. This needs to change by more grants, more support, more leveraging to the private sector, and long-term finance based perhaps on IDA terms, which is the most efficient and most active pool of funding in existence, and I'm happy that the RST of the IMF, for the first time, it's serving low-income and middle-income countries at the same time with similar concessional elements. Now, getting into the answers to the big questions, and beyond the 100 billion, we need really to consider how can we deal with the debt levels. We need to have serious debt reduction mechanisms. Through the journey during the last few months with the 5 regional economic commissions of the UN, we managed to have good ideas, including debt reduction mechanisms and swaps. You reduce your debt, get proceeds, investment in climate or nature, and this is getting traction based on projects like Seychelles or Belize, or KPI linked to NDCs as it happened in Barbados. There is a greater role expected from the MDBs and the international finance institutions to support such work and to get it to scale. And this gets me into my 4th point, which is about the private sector expectations and what is expected from the private sector. And I'm very happy to see a chapter of GFANZ established for Africa, with serious consideration of being practical and supporting a pipeline of projects. And during the course of the last few months, we managed to have a decent pipeline of projects. Innovative finance solutions. Yesterday, we're super pleased to see the launching of carbon credit market for Africa based on international standards. The room there was there to celebrate this development with the support of 4 presidents from Africa and great partnerships from the private sector and the IFIs. On ESG finance, we're very pleased to see a report long awaited for, just launched again yesterday, on dealing with greenwashing, and that was the report led by Minister McKenna, that was tasked by the Secretary General of the UN to deal with greenwashing, and there is a great deal of work that is required in order to have better alignment with disclosure and regulatory requirement there without overwhelming the system with unneeded regulations, but we need to take that all seriously. Now and finally, on how 2 questions were raised, got serious answer. So in Mark Carney's list, we have the money, where are the projects? So we went into a tour around the world, from Africa to Latin America to Asia to the Middle Eastern countries and Arab countries, and then to the emerging markets in Europe. We managed to have proposals, more than 400 proposals coming from 80 countries. We have a compendium of 50 projects that are going to be shared, covering the different aspects of finance on adaptation, in mitigation, and public-private partnerships. 62% are in mitigation, 22% in adaptation, 16% in dual impact. These require the attention of the finance community and, of course, the MDBs, and we're going to be sharing the details on that. But the lack of attention to adaptation made me to emphasize the importance of the Sharm el-Sheikh adaptation agenda that was launched yesterday by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, that would require serious funding and additional support, especially in food system infrastructure. And I think the platform's work, including the one from Egypt on the nexus on food, water, and energy, is going to be very helpful, especially that is getting a serious mix of funding. Now, the very final question. Yes, it's natural to respond to a leader in finance like Mark Carney and his colleagues, UNEP and PRI and others, had raised the same questions about pipelines. Then what's in it for us, from the villagers of Kafr Shukr and Benha? How can we deal with their tough questions? When I was appointed as a champion, they congratulated me. Congratulations, this is an additional title to your many other titles. But what's in it for us? I try to say 1.5 degrees need to be kept alive. The Paris Agreement, we need to be abiding by the rules. We need to save the world through this summit. They say, well, but we have other problems of concern. So this is the beauty of this summit in Sharm el-Sheikh. that we are addressing climate action within a holistic approach. We are addressing climate action to deal with the food crisis and the energy crisis at the same time. And through a process under the auspices of the President of Egypt, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, and great leadership from the Prime Minister, we went into a process to select the best projects based on green and smart filters. And we launched this process. I'm happy that the Prime Minister decided that this is going to be an annual feature of the work, a competition to select the best projects, large, middle-sized, small enterprises, women-led projects, youth startups, and community-led projects. And they are all being showcased here in Sharm el-Sheikh and the Green Zone. No question that is serious with genuine inquiries about the merits of such big summits should be left unanswered for the credibility and building the trust. And here we built another pipeline that is worthy of finance. So this is another way of answering serious questions. From the global perspective to the local perspective, we can build the credibility of finance and build the credibility of this very serious work that we're witnessing in the implementation COP that would have only one answer going forward. When you are asked what is the most important matter of relevance to an implementation COP, you have only three answers: finance, finance, and finance. And here we need really to mobilize all sources of finance in order to support the projects from a holistic perspective, dealing with the climate action requirements within the Sustainable Development Framework. Thank you so much.